What is going on, traders? So this is going to be a video about my latest and greatest TPO chart setup. I've already shown folks how to create essentially the nuts and bolts of this TPO chart, but as you can see here, we've divided out the regular trading hours, which has no shading. We've put the extended trading hours, which starts right after the cash close, which is 4 p.m. Eastern time. So this one goes from 6:30. Oh, sorry, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. I'm in Pacific Standard Time, so I'm used to saying 6:30 a.m., that's what it is for me. But it's 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Starts here, and it's the highest volume of for the whole day. And the whole session runs from 9:30 Eastern to 4 p.m. Eastern. And at 4 p.m. Eastern, we have extended trading hours, and that's all shaded until the next regular trading hour. So you know you're in extended trading hours because it's slightly darker shaded as opposed to no shading here. At the beginning of the RTH session, we add in that it's the US regular trading session, so we call it USA. Then we have this thing called, for this next hour, we have this thing called USA2. And then we have this next session that we call Asia. Okay, so Asia is actually 8 p.m. Eastern, but I have Asia set as, let's see, 6 p.m. Eastern. Okay? And the reason for that is the number of sessions that we can actually utilize in Sierra chart. And I know it's not perfectly Asia, but I like to look at the 6 p.m. Eastern block because it's usually a lower volume block. And I know at around 8 p.m. Eastern that's the real Asia session, and then usually price kicks up a bit or something. Japan opens, some other things like that. So anyway, Asia goes all the way until 3 a.m. Eastern Standard, at which point the European session opens, and volume always kicks up big time. And then the European session goes in this until the open, right? And volume just steadily picks up into the right before the open. At the open, it just obviously goes bonkers. So what's interesting here is that you guys should be able to see quite quickly here, right here, that the volume, for example, and this is, I know this font is really small. It's like 1.3 million contracts, right? And then the volume in this, what I call USA2, is 122,000, right? And so the idea is to capture the volume that is after the cash close, because the cash close is really important for the stock market, and a lot of firms' position. And so this time, this USA2 session, which runs right after the cash close, for an hour, and then all the settlements and everything are done. We get the hour close, right, until sort of the trading for the next day starts, right, at 6 p.m. Eastern. And so during that time, there's a lot more volume because a lot of firms are positioned, and it tapers all the way into, so the most volume is done like the first 15 minutes, and then it tapers all the way until we get that hourly close. And then the next segment we get right here, even lower volume, right? And this segment lasts for like 9 hours. And look at the amount of volume, 98,000. This is 122,000 in an hour. 98,000 in 9 hours, right? So you see how much less volume that is? And then the European session comes in, and the European session again lasts 6.5 hours, or only lasts, not again, it lasts 6.5 hours. But in that 6.5 hours, we get a lot more movement and a lot more volume, right? So almost 200,000 contracts. So note, this tends to be higher volume, lower volume. Not always, but typically it's a lot of time. This is a much higher volume, and you can think of it as positioning post cash close. So you get some interesting movement from folks that now have an opinion based on the close. So that is relevant, and there's some game theory around that can, if you think about it from that perspective and you track the movements, can really help you. Okay? And so like here you can just see that they just moved, ripped up and down and up, up, down. I mean, it's just kind of crazy, right? Up, then all the way back down, right? In this one. So isn't that interesting that this is what happened? Well, why did it happen? Earnings. So it's also important because a lot of earnings happen right after the bell. So you get to see what earnings caused in the market during this time. So it's good to have the USA2 session up here as well. So anyway, I made a little argument now for having these 1, 2, 3, 4 sessions. And so now let me show you guys how this is actually achieved in Sierra Chart. So I'm not going to show you how to set up the whole TPO, but I will show you how to do all of this, all of that, get the shading in, and then get this. And here's another cool thing, right? You see how we have RTH? Sometimes we turn off the regular trading session when we're in a TPO chart. And sometimes, now in this case, if you have all this stuff in the background here, you're going to know that the extended trading hours are on. But what if you turn off the extended trading hours? Well, if you have it labeled up here, it'll be really clear right away that the RTH is only on. And I don't know, you're like, you dummy, of course you see all this stuff here. Why do you need to have that? Well, it's a little redundant, but that's okay. Okay, so let me show you something real quick. So first let me back out of these drawings. And you see this button, use evening or full session. So this is like the RTH ETH button that you can add in your control bar, right? Addressed in another video. And so if I turn this, click this button out, you see that there's a sun. The sun represents regular trading hours, right? Brightest. The moon here, the sun and a moon. The moon's bigger because the extended trading hours last for longer, but the sun is brighter. It dominates the price action, as does RTH typically, but longer, so bigger moon. Anyway, note the colors: yellow, yellow, gray, gray, shading gray, right? This has no shading because it's not nighttime. It's not, well, it depends on where you are, but anyway, this is how I theme stuff. Little peek into my mind. I'm pretty particular about these kinds of things. Anyway, so let's click this. And lucky for you guys, I'm going to edit all of the next loading out because I load a lot of data into my TPOs, and you'll have hardly any delay. Okay, so there you go. Look at the top. This loaded, and now it's only RTH up here. You see that? Let's right click this thing. Get out. Alright. So you see that? It's all RTH up there. So now you know that these are all RTH. Now, again, they're all nice and neatly labeled down here. So that's good. But these are all the RTH sessions, which I'd say they matter the most. But if you want to look at rotations, you want to look at price action and where people may be trapped in the overnight session, which, man, I look at it every single day. You gotta, it is important to look at the various sessions and kind of analyze it from that perspective, especially the USA2 session. So let's get into it. First, let me turn this back on. All right. So how do we achieve this look? So first off, let's reset, or let us reset this whole profile. Where is the reset? Man, I hardly ever reset. Yeah, reset TPO chart. Okay, there you go. Everything in its own profile now. So first off, let's get into the settings here. So not a whole lot of studies. So first off, you need to go into your TPO and go into the settings, and scroll down here until you come to the number of custom intraday sessions. Set this to 5. And then note that this is Pacific Standard Time, so set it according to your time zone, right? So for Eastern Standard Time, add 3 hours to each of these, okay? I went over it already in the video, so add that, put these in, okay? I am not showing the chart value of windows using my TPO. I'm doing it using the volume by price. Why do I do the volume by price? That's these. Because they align right, and I want this on the left side. So I want as much room to fit this little text as I can. That's why I do it that way. Cleaner, right? There's some people that do use the TPO. That's fine. Maybe there's some values in the TPO you want down here. Whatever. It's all good. Just know it may overlap if you, sort of drag these scales and make this less wide and sort of collapse everything. So, you'll have overlap issues. So the way I've done it works for me. You'll have to adjust. But anyway, those are the settings, okay? And that will create all these sessions. They should just apply it and it should split apart. Now, you want to label all these sessions, right? And so whatever sessions, you know what I would do? I would take a quick screenshot or screen grab of all this here from 5 all the way down, and then just set it off to the side for yourself. So you have all these times, okay? Then go over and add your USA timeline, or whatever you want to call it, US, whatever. Keep it nice and short. So again, if you crunch this all up using the scale, time scale, the shorter it is, the less likely it will be to overlap all of that. Okay, so go add this study, which is the timeline study. Let's find it. Time. Oh, we'll find it here. Yeah, it's this one. Timeline. So that's all it is. Timeline study. Add it. Go into the settings. So you see, the study is timeline. Make the short name. Okay, you can make this underneath your main price graph. Whatever, I don't. Now, put the time, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Again, +3 for everything. Copy all of this. Make it nice and easy. Your vertical position, 3% or 3% from the bottom. Again, if you scrunch the whole screen up, it's always going to be 3%, so then it'll move down to the bottom. I do a percentage that works for when I expand the screen. I have vertical oriented monitors, so that when it's expanded, it moves to about up here, and then when it's crunched up, it moves to down here. So think about, maybe it needs to be 2% for you, or 4%, or 5%. It just depends on your screen orientation. If you don't really expand your TPO charts on your screen, then it won't matter to you. Anyway, do this. Set this like this. Set this like this. I unselect all this. Take a screen grab of this. Done. Do your USA too. Again, same thing, right? You won't even have to do your scale range. It's just text for the timeline. Again, this will be 16. Has to be 16. If you put it somewhere else, it's not going to show up. Let's say we put it at 14. Okay, watch. Remember, this is the USA 2, so it's this one. Watch if I apply it. Oh, it goes away. Why? Because now it's in the middle of a TPO chart. You can only define these lines at the beginning and end, or at the beginnings, I believe, of TPO charts, right? So if you try to define a line in the middle of a TPO chart, just because of how they work, it will not work for you. So just keep that in mind. Don't try to do something too fancy and frustrate yourself. You got to get these at the beginning. They have to match your TPO start times. Okay? So there you go. Boom. It's now in there. So again, timeline here. Notice I have this 90%, and then my USA is a little brighter. Right? So just keep that in mind. That's how I get one brighter than the other. Okay? Asia. Same exact thing. 15 for me, 18 for you guys. If you want to do it this way. Again, you can do it differently, but I think I've laid out why I do it the way I do. So anyway, copy all that, right? See that? The width is whatever. This controls the text size. So if you're wondering about text, you're like, I can't get the text. Well, this is where you do it. See that? The width or size is actually the size of the custom text, right? So, and then this, transparent fill to 0. I like that. So whatever. You can do both of them, transparent fill to 0. So that's what gives it transparency. Sorry, I didn't include that in the others, but now you have it. So keep watching the video. And then one for the Euro time zone. Again, transparent fill to 0, right? Set text. Label vertical position 3, blah, 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 blah. Now, if you want this further away from that line, you could do this. Look. So there it is. And I think I do have one space. See that? Nope, I don't. Okay. But you can go bink, bink. All right, 2 space. See how it moved over? Maybe that's your jam. It's not mine. Again, for the purposes of compressing this in time, I want this all the way left. So right on top, almost. So that works for me. Anyway, so you got the Euro. Now, for the RTH and ETH, you still using timeline? Now you get it. RTH, time of line, 6:30. Orient it, where? 100%, right at the top. See that? Right at the top. So you're orienting the vertical position 100. I do it underneath the main study. Not that it's less important to me for it to be on top. Okay. So anyway, this one, the timeline, I'm ignoring. Why? Because I don't want it to go over this blue. Does that make sense? Hope it does. So you just set it to ignore, the draw style. All right. ETH, what? Be 13 o'clock. So again, this one, ignore, 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 custom label, whatever color you want. I've got a gray. 95%, let's see, it's not even transparent, so it's just 95%. It's also under main study price graph, 13 o'clock. Again, Eastern, it's going to be 16, right? So all of this, so done. Then you're like, well, how do you get the background? Easy. Time, range, highlight, transparent study. So this one, time, range, highlight, transparent. Add it. Go to the settings. Draw it under the main price graph so it doesn't highlight over the TPO. Now, if it's underneath the order of the TPO, it won't go over it anyway. But just do that. That way it goes underneath any study or drawing or whatever. So anyway, start time 13, right? So 16 o'clock, right? Right at 4 p.m. Eastern, and it ends right before the opening bell, 6:29:59 or 9:29:59. You can display it in the forward projection area if you want. That's fine. Look, if you do it, boop, displays over here. I don't really care. I just set it to no. Whatever. Now I know that this is the right side fill space of my chart. So I don't like to display it. So that's just me. So anyway, underneath here, subgraphs. Look, background transparent. I think that's the only one it'll select. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Anyway, I always turn all this stuff off. There it is. It's I have 64s all the way down for RGBs. So there you go. Okay, so we're done with that. And then the next thing we got to do is address the volume, the range, the POC, and the VWAP for that session. Now, why is the volume important? We want to know how much volume was done in a particular session, to know maybe whether or not we need to go take a look at where it moved and where that volume was. For example, we have the volume profile here for the European session. Its POC was right here for volume. Its TPO is up here. Right, and go look at where the volume was for the European session. Why might that be important? Oh, I don't know. Look at Asia. Look at the session. And look at how we came up and rejected right up here in Asia on the volume. Is that kind of interesting? Yes, it is, because this can represent a whole hodgepodge of various other indexes that are trading at around the time that this is trading, and maybe it is driving price up through these areas, right? And maybe for the RTH, because a fair amount of volume was done up in through this section, maybe it's a bit of a proxy for some of those other stock markets in Asia, right? Maybe they're buying U.S. equities, right, to maybe hedge against some of the craziness that is happening in their own stock market. I mean, there's lots of different things we can kind of surmise from that. But anyway, we want to look at volume, the range for the session, the point of control for the session, and the VWAP for the session. So this will just tell you the VWAP. It's not actually up here on the charts, but it is something that I like to look at. And then that way you can get an idea of the volume weighted average price for the whole session. So anyway, that's done in the volume by price study. And all you do is you go down to the volume by price study, go scroll all the way down here to the bottom, and right here, show chart values on profile. You do show chart values on profile with labels. Okay, so that gets you the labels in front. Where do you want this to be positioned? We say bottom of the window. You can put it at the top if you want, whatever. Lots of ways to do this. Again, if you put it at the top, it might get in the way of these guys. I don't know, whatever. Whatever works for you, okay? I like it at the bottom. It looks better. The font size, that's where this is controlled. So if you guys want to see what I've actually got down here, see that? Volume, range, POC, VWAP. Anyway, I do 6. I move this onto a fairly large large monitor that helps. So chart value 1 to be displayed. So you do all these: volume, profile range, point of control, volume weighted average price, and that's it. Super easy peasy lemon squeezy. And then that gets all of these various metrics at the bottom down here. So that's this part done. Now you get this sweet looking and very functional TPO chart that can help you segment the price action that has very distinct personality in these various sessions. So hopefully this is helpful to you. Please like, subscribe, share. It really does help. That's the only way I continue. Your guys' feedback and encouragement is the only way I continue doing this, really. So the biggest kick that I get out of all of this is you guys providing feedback and encouragement. Positive, good vibes are what keep me going, and meeting some of you amazing people along the way is a huge part of it. So yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.